Awesome. So, welcome to this POSH training, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody who is listening to this very important training. In brief, maybe just 10 to 15 minutes. Let's see how it unfolds. I recall a very powerful quote of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and he says, I measure the progress of any nation by the progress of its women. That's really, really insightful and inspiring, isn't it so? So, today, let's co-explore and try to co-evolve in the context of how to how to create a very safe environment for all across geographies, industries and genders, and especially POSH when it comes to prevention of sexual harassment at workplace for women. For women. Well, so in this, definitely we are going to just visit on the basic aspects of what is POSH and what is the definition of sexual harassment, how one can create the awareness to avoid it. I mean, avoid the unwanted things which go on because of which women suffer a lot, and definitely it directly affects the organization. And what's the procedure when it comes to filing a complaint. So yeah, let's get into it. So prevention of sexual harassment at workplace. It's a comprehensive guide to understand, prevent, and address sexual harassment in the workplace. Awesome. So, women work participation stat. As you see here, 25.3% female workforce participants from rural India and 14.7% from urban. Now, these figures highlight the disparity in women's employment across India. The lower participation rates emphasize the need for inclusive workforce. Yes. And prevalence of workplace sexual harassment, as you see here, the pyramid, 52% experience harassment. Women facing workplace sexual harassment, 52%. Isn't it so alarming? 25% touched without their consent. 20% face sexual advances, inappropriate sexual propositions. Barriers to reporting as a harassment. We will see that in coming slides. So, what do we mean by sexual harassment? What definitely it's an unwelcome act of behavior, any conduct that is unwanted and offensive, subject to experience based on how the recipient experience it, sexual in nature, involving sexual connotations or undertones, the subtle tones. Impact over intent is very, very, very important over here. That we will see in forthcoming slides. That's effect on recipient matters more than intent. And yeah, as we're talking about the forms of sexual harassment, so physical contact, verbal harassment, and visual harassment. And as you see in visual harassment, showing obviously the porn displaying offensive sexual material or making sexual gestures, that is definitely in the visual. Verbal, as we understand the language, and even the sarcastic language, the double meanings and so on and so forth, as we can understand. Obviously, physical contact is very, very, it's clear, what we mean by physical contact. And when it comes to visual harassment, even when it comes to your workplace, your workstation or your cabin, you should not put something which women may consider as a sexual harassment. Yeah. Intentionally, obviously not. Unintentionally, also one should be aware of it. Because it's the impact that takes over the intent. And yeah, quite pro harassment, it implies that, you're making some promises to do some favors in return of sexual, favors. And this is widely seen, though one may not verbalize, but this is widely seen. It's quite evident that most of the time, those so-called, the powerful people, the bosses, You know, they get into it, and they, even with the interns sometimes, they unfortunately, it's a very tragic thing. They say, you give me this, and in return you will get good paycheck, I mean the salary rise, the promotions, the powers, or maybe the so-called prestigious platforms, whatever. And the second is, a hostile work environment, creating an intimidating, offensive work environment, and retaliation. Yeah, as you see here. So, recognizing inappropriate behavior. Obviously, as we see, the way men look at women, yes, and the touch, obviously, yes, and organizational impact of sexual harassment. Now, this is very, very important. As we see, brand value gets damaged, and we have seen uh, the people who lack ownership. I mean, the so-called jumping jacks. Not necessarily jumping jacks will lack ownership. No, but it's people who are not serious about sustaining themselves in certain department, certain organization. Often they display this kind of character, bad character, that they are not concerned at all when it comes to the organization. If they do something, how it's going to tarnish the image of the organization they work with. So in long run, this really affects. And now in the era of social media, things tend to get viral like anything. So one has to be very careful, and this is the responsibility of the top management, everyone, to ensure that things are going very, very ethically. Then it decreases the morale of the people, and ultimately it leads to the financial losses. Period. Okay. So legal framework, the POSH Act was um, constituted in 2013. Its prevention, prohibition, and redressal, the redressal mechanism. Suppose and unfortunately things take place, then how one should redress, how one should approach to it when it comes to the legal framework. Then IPC says the sections cover 209, 354, 376, and 509, and the Industrial Employment Act, Standing Orders Act 1946. Okay, so the employee responsibilities, obviously, see, certain things cannot be taught, have to be caught. And when it comes to respect for women, for our gender, for that matter, for everyone, irrespective of the social status, financial status, across borders, one should be utterly respectful. So one should understand, one should observe, examine, support, and one should confront. One should have the guts to stand against that which is wrong, inappropriate. As you see in the slide, is self-explanatory. Support is very important. Stand with colleagues facing harassment. That's the true respect for women. Not just, when you are sitting in person and you're saying, goody goody things. No. When she goes through problem, you have to stand by her. You have to support uh, her by fighting against the management. I think that is being truly a life warrior, a man. And then who is covered as an employee? Now, this is very important. Regular employees, temporary workers, trainees, interns, volunteers, interns mentioned, not mentioned, volunteers, all. And the POSH Act, let me make it very clear. The POSH Act, the good about POSH Act over Vishaka guidelines, though the genesis is Vishaka guidelines, the POSH Act covers the organized as well as unorganized sector, including the maids coming to our homes. They are also covered. Even, for example, the women who are not working in your organization, but they may coming from other organization or may not working with anyone, they are also covered. We will get into it. So, what is definition of workplace? Again, very, very important. What we mean by workplace? So, workplace is not the so-called four walls. I mean, the physical infrastructure. But nowadays, people are working online. So the world has literally become flat. And for that matter, but obvious, the work events where we represent organization, you meet up somewhere at certain event. Obviously out of your premises, your campus, and it could be traveling, transportation, could be by cab, by road, by air, by train, whatever. And the accommodation company provided residence during employment. All those things. So employers' prevention responsibilities. First is constitute internal committee. And if you fail to form that, you can be penalized 50,000. But money is not important. What matters is that you need to be ethical, simple work ethics. You have to have the IC. Display information, conduct trainings, create trainings as and when required. I personally feel the orientation program, the induction program of every new joinee, be it any cadre one joins, it should be a part and parcel of HR training, this POSH training. And though the law is silent on this, at what intervals one should, but me being from corporate and having worked in HR and training and definitely marketing, most of the departments, I say every quarter one should have a training. And well, the IC, the internal committee, but the primary function is conduct inquiries into sexual harassment complaints. Yes, and as you know, the government also has this She-Box, it's an online portal. If you don't have IC, you can log in complaints over there. And this will be taken by the local committee, it's fine. But now, when it comes to the organization, we need to have IC. And the composition is senior women employee as chairperson, external member, and other members. But here, 50% of the women, 50% of the members should be women. Yes. Yeah, what to do? Don't ignore. Harassment rarely resolves itself without intervention. Take action promptly then and there. Say no clearly, and no is complete statement. Period. Speak up. Stand by your promise. Yeah. Promise in sense, many times those goody promises we make, yes, I'm there always for you, to support. So then you have to stand by. Complaint resolution process. File a complaint, aggrieved woman submits complaint to IC, notice to respondent. Within 7 working days, the IC has to send, and respondent should reply, though it is not mentioned here on the slide, within 10 days. Investigation, then it happens. One has to carry on the investigation. Filing a complaint, written format, time frame, required content, as you say, time frame. File within 3 months of incident or last incident in a series. Yes, who can file a complaint? Obviously, aggrieved women. On behalf of aggrieved women in capacity, maybe physical, mental challenge, then anyone can. Now, maybe a relative, a colleague, anyone can. Subordinate. With consent, person with knowledge and written consent, obviously legal hairs, when a aggrieved woman is deceased in that case. So, thank you very much. And let's make our world a better place, the workplace a better place. And I keep doing this practice everywhere I go, not just the POSH trainings, but my regular trainings. And I request all the boys, all the men, and maybe homogeneous batch, only men, or maybe heterogeneous batch, when girls, women are also a part of the training program. I request them to take your hands like this, and it's like taking a vow, a pledge. And I say this, and I request them to do this 3 times. That is, I respect women, I respect women, I respect women. Jai Hind. Thank you very much.
और सब बोलेंगे मेरे साथ में सब बोलेंगे I respect women.